You're about to waste 4 months of brutal training. I see perfectly good, fit runners blow their sub-4 marathons every single weekend because the marathon absolutely does not care about your fitness if your race day execution is broken. I've watched countless runners fall apart, not from tired legs, but from start line adrenaline trap, the middle mile panic, and losing the psychological battle in the final 10K. Today, we're going to fix that with the ultimate sub-4 marathon blueprint. We're going step by step from the starting corral to the finish line. Pay close attention to phase 4. What happens to your brain at kilometers 32 is the reason why 90% of runners fail. Let's get into it. Phase 1, the real reason you hit the wall. Everyone says you hit the wall in a marathon because you run out of glycogen. And they're right, aren't they? Well, kind of. Yes, glycogen matters. But here's the question no one really asks. If that's the real reason, the only reason, why doesn't everyone hit the wall at the same point, in the same way? Some marathon runners slow gradually, others fall apart at 30k, and some, with the same fueling, don't hit it at all. So what's actually happening? I want to break down the real reasons that marathon runners hit the wall, the ones that people never really explain, and exactly how you can train for your sub-4 hour marathon attempt. So when you reach that point in a marathon, you don't fade, but you finish strong. Because I fueled perfectly and still hit the wall, I watched disciplined, experienced runners collapse at 30 to 32k, even though their nutrition plan was flawless. And over time, I've learned something important. The wall has very little to do with what's left in your stomach, and almost everything to do with what your body and brain never been asked to do before. If you've ever hit the wall, you'll know how brutal it feels. One moment you're running, maybe not comfortably, but controlled, and then suddenly your legs feel disconnected, your pace collapses, and your confidence almost evaporates instantly. What frustrates most runners is that it feels sudden and unexplained, so they assume it must be fueling. But in reality, the problem usually started weeks earlier in training. Through my own races, through the failures as much as the breakthroughs, I realised that the wall isn't one single thing. It's what happens when several systems start breaking down at the same time. And once you understand those systems, the wall becomes less of a mysterious inevitability and becomes something you can actually prepare for. One of the most overlooked reasons runners hit the wall in the marathon is this: they haven't trained their brain and nervous system to recognise marathon pace when they're already tired. Many runners do plenty of easy miles, they might do some speed work, they definitely do their long run, but very little of their training teaches their body what marathon pace actually feels like after 90 minutes, 2 hours or more. That's why everything feels fine early on and then suddenly doesn't. Your nervous system starts to panic, your stride shortens, your form deteriorates, and even though your muscles may still have fuel available, your body no longer trusts the pace that you're asking it to hold. This is where progression runs and marathon pace blocks matter in your training. Not heroic sessions, just repeated exposure. Running the final third of that long run at marathon pace. Letting your body learn that this feeling is normal, not a threat. When fatigue shows up in the marathon, and it always does, your body will recognize that sensation and stays calm instead of shutting everything down. Another reason runners hit the wall in the marathon has nothing to do with legs or lungs. It's decision fatigue. During a marathon, you're constantly making small decisions. Pace, gels, water, crowds, other runners. By the time you reach 30 kilometers, your brain is already tired, and a tired brain makes poor decisions. That's when mistakes start compounding. You miss a gel, you surge without realizing, you lose rhythm. The wall doesn't feel like a physical crash, it feels like confusion. In training, simplicity is your advantage. Practice fueling automatically. Practice holding pace without checking your watch every minute. Reduce the mental load so race day requires less thinking. In the marathon, follow a script, not emotions. The fewer decisions you make late in the race, the more energy you preserve to keep moving forward. There's another form of fatigue almost nobody talks about: structural fatigue. As fatigue builds, posture quietly collapses. Your core switches off, your arms stop driving, your stride becomes inefficient, and every step costs more energy than it should. This is why the wall often feels sudden. It's not that you you ran out of fuel, it's that your movement became too expensive to sustain. In your training, you don't need heavy gym work, you need consistency. Simple strength work, late run marathon pace, teaching your body to hold form when tired. During your marathon, posture cues matter. Tall chest, relaxed shoulders, strong arms. They won't make you faster, but they stop you falling apart. When runners talk about the wall, it's usually framed as failure, but the wall is feedback. It's your body telling you what it's not been prepared for yet. And for sub-4 runners especially, the difference between fading and finishing is rarely talent or fitness. It's preparation, not just of the muscles, but the mind and the nervous system. Of course, glycogen still matters. Fuel poorly and everything collapses faster. But fueling alone won't save you if your body doesn't recognize the workload you're asking it to sustain. Nutrition supports performance. It doesn't replace preparation. If you want to avoid the wall in your marathon, your training needs 3 things: exposure to marathon pace under fatigue, simplicity in execution, strength that holds your form together late in the race. Do these things consistently and the wall stops being a fear. It becomes a point you pass through, not something that stops you. The runners who finish strong aren't the ones who never struggled. They're the ones who prepared for the struggle before it arrived. And when you get this right, the marathon actually stops asking, can you survive this? And starts asking, how well prepared are you to answer it? So your physiological foundation is set. Now you're standing in the corral. The adrenaline is spiking. The music is blaring. And this is exactly where the critical errors start to happen. Welcome to phase 2, the start line. I've stood on 12 marathon start lines and I've realized something that most training plans don't tell you. You can spend 16 weeks hitting every track session, every long run, and every strength workout and still lose it all before you even cross that timing map. The marathon doesn't start at the gun. It starts in the 15 minutes when you're standing in that corral. That is the psychological dead zone when your brain hijacks your body. It is the most dangerous place on the entire marathon course because you're at your most vulnerable. Your adrenaline is high, your logic is low, and the fear of failure is screaming. A sub-4 marathon is more than a pace. It's a philosophy of discipline. Today, I'm breaking down the 7 start line traps and the exact fixes to ensure that you cross that map with a clear head and a bulletproof plan. Let's get into trap number 1. Trap number 1 is the biology trap. And we've all been there. You're in the starting pen, all packed in like sardines. You feel a tiny nagging nudge from your bladder, but you look at the lines for the portaloos and they're 50 people deep. You tell yourself, I'll be fine once I start running. But here's the science. When you hold it, your sympathetic nervous system stays in a state of high alert. You aren't just uncomfortable, you are leaking power. Your pelvic floor and core are braced, meaning you aren't breathing deeply into your diaphragm. You're burning pressure glycogen just to stay clenched.
Kind of want to go to the toilet, which is a little bit disturbing.
The sub-4 fix, 20 minutes before the pen closes, go and do your business, regardless of if you feel like you need to. Then, once you're in the corral, do a tension scan from your jaw to your glutes, shake everything out. And if you truly feel the urge to go again, leave the line. Starting 2 minutes behind the pacer with a relaxed, empty body is infinitely better than starting on time in a state of psychological panic. Trap number 2 is the comparison trap, or as I call it, the start line paranoia. It's that irrational belief that everyone else knows a secret that you don't. You see the runner next to you with the 500 carbon plated shoes, the personalized hydration vest, and the look of a professional athlete. Suddenly your $100 shoes feel like bricks. This leads to the fidget. You start readjusting your bib. You retie your shoes for the 3rd time. Under adrenaline, your perceived feel is broken. You'll tie them too tight. By kilometer 15, your feet will naturally swell, and that knot, that will come back to haunt you, cutting off circulation and causing hot spots. The sub-4 fix you need a visual anchor. For me, it's my watch face. When you feel the urge to scan the crowd and compare yourself to others, look down at your anchor. Remind yourself, my training is done. My shoes are broken in. My race is in this circle. You're racing the clock, not the person in the fancy socks. The gun goes off and the surge begins. Because you've rested for 2 weeks, your legs feel like coiled springs. You look at your watch and you're running 20 seconds faster than sub-4 pace, and it feels effortless. You think, I'm feeling great. I'll bank some time now for when I get tired later. Stop right there. Banking time in a marathon is like taking out a high-interest payday loan from your future marathon self. Adrenaline is a powerful painkiller. It's masking the metabolic cost of that speed. If you go 10 seconds a mile too fast now, you'll pay back 60 seconds a mile at mile 20. The sub-4 fix, the breath test. For the first 5K, you should be able to breathe exclusively through your nose. If you have to open your mouth to gasp for air, you're already burning through your stage 2 fuel too early. Close your mouth, drop your shoulders, and force yourself to hit your target splits exactly. Discipline now is speed later. Trap number 4 is the sensory trap. Big city marathons are sensory overloads. You have heavy bass speakers, announcers screaming names, and the roar of the crowd. This triggers a fight or flight response that spikes your heart rate before you've even hit the first mile marker. Your brain can't process that much external input and maintain a precise sub-4 pace. You become reactive. You start running at the cadence of the music and not the cadence of your training. Your heart rate climbs not because of the effort, because of the noise. The sub-4 fix, you need to build the tunnel. For the first 10 minutes, do not look at the crowd. Do not look for your family. Keep your eyes 5 meters in front of your feet. This creates a sensory vacuum that allows your nervous system to settle. You need to be a monk for the first hour so you can be a beast for the last hour. Save that crowd energy for mile 22. You'll need it then. Trap number 5 is the data trap. GPS signals are notoriously unreliable at start lines. Between the tall buildings and the thousands of other Bluetooth signals, your watch might say you're doing an 8-minute kilometer when you're actually flying at 5:15. If you surge to fix the average on your screen, you've just sabotaged your race. I've seen people sprint 400 meters just to make their watch beat at the right time. That is race day disaster. The sub-4 fix, use the pace tattoo or a simple pace chart on your arm. Forget the current pace field on your watch. It's a liar. Look for the physical kilometer markers on the road. When you pass the sign, hit your manual lap button. Trust the paint on the ground, not the satellite in the sky. If the road says you're on time, you're on time. Trap number 6, the social trap. Humans are pack animals. We naturally lock onto a pro-looking runner or a pacer group and think, if I just stay with them, I'll finish. But you've just handed the keys to your 16-week training block to a total stranger. You don't know their strategy. They might be planning a massive negative split, or they might be about to blow up at mile 18. If you follow them down their path, you won't be getting your sub-4. The sub-4 fix, the bubble strategy. Imagine a 2-meter bubble around you. Anyone inside that bubble is just an obstacle to be navigated, not a leader to be followed. If the crowd is thick, don't weave and sprint to get around people. Weaving can add up to 800 meters or more over a marathon distance. Stay patient, let the gap open up naturally. Efficiency is the name of the game. Finally, the trap that most runners forget about, the fueling trap. Think about the timeline. You ate breakfast at 5 a.m, 6 a.m. You got to the start line at 7 a.m. You stood in the cold for 60 minutes. Your body is a furnace. It's burning calories just to keep your core body temperature at 98 degrees, just to keep you standing still. By the time the gun goes off, you're being fasting for hours and shivering for one. You've already tapped into your glycogen reserves before the first step. The sub-4 fix, the corral carbs. Always carry one unplanned gel. Take it 10 minutes before the gun fires. This creates a blood glucose buffer. So when you hit that timing mark, you're at 100%, not 85%. That one gel can be the difference between hitting the wall at mile 20 or powering through to mile 26. A sub-4 hour marathon isn't just a result on a website. It's a reward for 42 kilometers of relentless discipline. It's crossing that line knowing that when the start line tried to break you, you stayed in control. We're chasing this together in 2026. If you found this video helpful, hit subscribe and join the community. I want to hear your start line stories in the comments. What's the biggest trap you've fallen for? My name is Paul, and I'll see you in the next one. You've navigated the start line traps and settled into a 5:41 pace. Right around kilometer 10, the spectators vanish, the music stops, and the real psychological battle begins. It's time to enter phase 3.
No man's land. This is where the initial roar of the start line fades into a haunting silence. The sun begins to bake the asphalt, and your central nervous system starts making promises that your muscles simply cannot keep.
Today, I'm going to teach you how to survive the dark room of the middle miles with a tactical discipline required to join the elite group of Sub-4 marathoners.
The most dangerous part of no man's land for a Sub-4 runner isn't physical. It's the psychological vacuum that happens when the crowds disappear. Between 12k and 18k, the spectators probably will thin out, the music probably would have stopped, and all you're left with is the sound of your own breathing and the repetitive thud of your running shoes on the road. This is where the dark room of the Sub-4 attempt begins.
When external stimulation drops, your brain's governor, that survival mechanism designed to protect you from pain, starts turning up the volume on your internal doubts. It will start scanning your body for reasons to quit. It will tell you that a Sub-4 is too hard, that the sun is too hot, or you're simply not a real athlete. When the crowd goes silent, you must activate your internal Sub-4 catalogue.
This isn't about positive thinking, it's about evidence-based confidence. Stop thinking about the finishing line. The finish line is a lie at 15k. Instead, remember your hardest training runs. Remember those humid 5 a.m. intervals when nobody was watching. The fix.
Use rhythm locking. Pick a single sound, the breath of the runner in front of you or the steady beat of your own feet, and lock onto it. If your mind wanders to the pain, bring it back to the task in hand.
Your task isn't to run a marathon. Your task is to maintain your Sub-4 cadence for the next 60 seconds. Repeat this 60 times and you've conquered an hour of the race without ever letting the dark room win.
It is the critical window between 10k and 20k where an invisible mistake, one dictated by ego and adrenaline, ends your marathon before you cross that halfway timing mark.
I remember running on a coastal stretch at 12k during the humid marathon in Thailand, feeling invincible because I was banking 15 seconds per kilometre ahead of my 5-minute 41-second kilometre target. I thought I was being smart, but I was actually committing psychological suicide. By 30 kilometres, I wasn't just slow, I was a broken runner walking toward a finish line that felt 1,000 miles away.
To run a Sub-4 marathon, you must understand that the first hour is a chemical illusion fueled by adrenaline and cortisol, which creates a dangerous mask over your true level of metabolic fatigue. This is adrenaline debt. A high interest loan the body takes out from your 35-kilometre energy reserves and must be repaid with interest during your final hour of your Sub-4 attempt.
At the 10k mark, your central nervous system is still fresh, but your muscle fibers are already beginning to accumulate micro damage that your brain isn't reporting yet. You think you're actually cruising at Sub-4 pace, but your heart is already starting to drift upward to compensate for the rising core temperature and the beginning of blood volume loss. You must perform the 2-beat Sub-4 audit. Stop looking at your average pace and start looking at the relationship between your pace and your heart rate. If your heart rate at 15k is more than 5 beats per minute higher than it was at 5k for the exact same speed, your Sub-4 attempt is in immediate jeopardy due to internal friction.
The fix. If that data is spiking, you have to be brave enough to drop your pace by 10 to 15 seconds per kilometre immediately for the 3-kilometre reset window. This allows your nervous system to catch up and prevent your heart rate from redlining prematurely. The runner who is brave enough to slow down at 12-kilometre is the only one who has the power to maintain a Sub-4 pace at 40k.
As you cross the 13-kilometre threshold, a subtle but devastating shift occurs in your biomechanics that can quietly drain the energy need for a Sub-4 finish. This is where your running economy, the amount of oxygen required to maintain a 5-minute 41-second kilometre pace, starts to leak like a cracked pipe. Your glutes become lazy, causing your hips to drop, which in turn leads to a heavy foot strike and a lower cadence. For a Sub-4 wannabe, every centimetre your hip drops is a centimetre of extra force your your knees have to absorb, leading to a massive spike in energy expenditure. Perform the Sub-4 body reset. Imagine your pelvis is a level bowl of water. Don't let it spill forward. Cadence check. If your steps per minute have dropped below 175, you are overstriding and braking with every step. The lean. Ensure you are leaning from your ankles, using gravity to move you forward rather than using your quads to push you toward your Sub-4 goal. The fix. Dedicate kilometers 13 and 14 to silent running. If you can hear your feet slapping the pavement, you are burning Sub-4 energy. Focus on a light, hot-cold foot strike. This biomechanical discipline during no man's land is what preserves your legs from the brutal combat of the final 7 kilometers. In a hot or humid marathon, humidity isn't just an annoyance. It's a psychological barrier that fundamentally changes how your body processes minerals during a Sub-4 attempt. When the humidity is high, your sweat doesn't evaporate, which means your body can't cool down effectively, forcing your heart to pump more blood to your skin and less to the muscles, driving you forward to your Sub-4 medal. I remember a training run in one of my first ever marathon training blocks, the long run, 32 kilometers, where I felt completely fine until kilometer 16, where a sudden lightning bolt in my left hamstring brought my Sub-4 dreams into reality. I had plenty of water, but my sodium potassium levels had dropped because I had sweated out all of my electrolytes without replacing them. Your blood volume is directly tied to your sodium levels. As you lose salt, your blood becomes more thicker, making it significantly harder for your heart to push it through your capillaries at Sub-4 intensity. Look for the salt mask on your face or kit at 15k. If you feel a gritty texture on your skin, your Sub-4 attempt is reaching a critical tipping point. The fix. Do not wait for cramp to occur. A cramp is total system failure. You must front load your sodium intake. Aim for about 250 milligrams to 500 milligrams every 5 kilometers, specifically during this 10 to 20k window. This ensures your muscles stay electrically charged and your blood remains thin enough to effectively circulate through the heat. Between 10k and 20k, your stomach is the most important muscle in your body because it is the gatekeeper for the energy you'll need to cross the Sub-4 finish line. This is your final absorption window. Once you cross the 25k mark and your core temperature spikes, your body will begin to divert blood away from your digestive system to your skin for cooling, effectively locking your stomach. If you put a gel into a locked stomach, it won't digest later in the race. It will just sit there, causing the dreaded marathon slosh and eventual GI distress. You have to feed the Sub-4 ghost of the final hour while your stomach is still willing to cooperate. Follow the Sub-4 fueling lock with absolute military precision. 10k, high volume electrolytes to prep the gut. 15k, your primary high carb gel. 20k, pure water to flush and assist in the transport of those carbs across the intestinal wall. The fix. If you feel even a hint of nausea, do not skip the fuel. Instead, drop your pace by 5 seconds to allow the gastric emptying process to catch up. It is a much smarter trade to lose 15-20 seconds at the 15 kilometer mark than to lose your entire Sub-4 dream because you ran out of fuel at 35k. You are no longer just a runner, you're a thermal engineer managing a high performance Sub-4 engine. Use the double cup method. Use 1 cup to maintain your hydration levels and use the second cup as an external coolant. Pour it over your radiators, your wrists where the veins are close to the surface, and the back of your neck where your brain's temperature sensors are located. The fix. Be a relentless shade hunter. You shouldn't care if it adds an extra 10 meters to your total distance. The difference between running in direct sun and shade can be an 8-degree drop in perceived temperature. That is the difference between your heart rate staying stable or drifting into the zone where your Sub-4 pace becomes unsustainable. If you manage kilometers 10 through 20 with this level of clinical, tactical discipline, you aren't just reaching the halfway point, you are launching from it towards a Sub-4 finish. finish. The marathon does truly begin at 30k, but the permission to be in that fight is earned right here in no man's land.
You've survived the middle miles, you're fueling right, your heart rate is steady, but now you cross kilometre 32. This is the moment I warned you about at the start of the video. Your body is about to enter a state of total biological crisis. Let's finish this. Phase 4, the blackout zone.
It is the final 10 kilometers when your central nervous system literally turns against you. The physical pain in the blackout zone is deafening. But that's not what stops you from breaking 4 hours. What stops you is what's going on in your mind when the screaming stops and the whispering begins. Welcome to the negotiation room. I remember in my Chicago marathon a couple of years ago, around the 36 kilometers mark, and my brain did something terrifying. It stopped telling me that I was in pain, and it started to give me logical arguments as to the reasons why I should quit. It whispered, Paul, you've ran 36 kilometers. That's amazing. But nobody's going to judge you now if you stop, if you quit. You're not going to break your sub-4 anyway. Your frontal lobe is so depleted of glucose that it cannot process willpower anymore. But there is a deeper biology at play here called the central governor. Your brain is a survival machine. Long before your muscles are actually out of glycogen, this governor hits the panic button. It creates the sensation of overwhelming full body fatigue to force you to slow down so you don't damage your heart. You aren't actually empty. Your brain is just putting a governor on your engine. It presents quitting as a perfectly rational, mature decision. The tactical fix 1, the brain hack swish. When your stomach is rejecting gels and you think you can't swallow another calorie, grab a sports drink, put it in your mouth, swish it around for 10 seconds, and then spit it out. The carbohydrate receptors in your mouth immediately send a signal to your brain saying calories are coming. The central governor gets tricked, relaxes the panic button, and instantly grants you access to your reserve energy tanks, and you haven't swallowed a thing. The tactical fix 2, the pre-loaded verdict. To fully survive the negotiation room, you need to bring an answer that requires 0 brain power. Mine is, not today, thanks. So when the brain says, oh, just walk for a couple of minutes, not today, thanks. I want to know what yours is. What are your pre-loaded verdicts? Let me know down below in the comments. You shut the door to the negotiation room and you refuse to let your own biology steal your sub-4. But to keep that door shut, you need to understand what your body is going through. You have to understand exactly what else is happening to your body when you enter the blackout zone. Let's rewind to kilometer 32. You check your watch and you've been running 5 minutes 41 seconds per kilometer for nearly 3 hours now. The math says you're on track to hit your sub-4 target. But suddenly 5 minute 41 doesn't feel like a pace anymore. It feels like an all-out sprint. In my first few marathons, this is exactly where my sub-4 attempts evaporated. Most runners think hitting the wall is just about running out of energy in your legs. That is a massive oversimplification of human physiology. In the rest of this video, we're going to dissect the brutal biochemistry of the final 10 kilometers. Stop running with your heart and start running with science. If you don't bring that pre-loaded verdict, your biology will win. Because when you're fighting that whisper in your mind, your central nervous system is literally trying to sedate you. It took me standing on 12 marathon start lines to realize this was more than just fatigue. Every time your muscles contract, they use ATP for energy. When ATP breaks down, it leaves behind a byproduct called adenosine. For 3 hours, adenosine has been building up in your bloodstream. When it binds to the receptors in your brain, it slows down neural activity. It is literally the sleep molecule. The wall is central nervous system sedation. The tactical fix, the 28 kilometer caffeine block. I used to take a caffeine gel at every marathon start line, but I didn't realize I was wasting it. Caffeine doesn't give you energy. It mimics the shape of adenosine and blocks those receptors in your brain. Take the 100 milligram of caffeine gel at kilometer 28. By the time you hit the blackout zone, those receptors are blocked. You intercept the brain's shutdown signal before it even registers. At kilometer 34, a second biological crisis hits. I remember looking at my watch during the Tokyo Marathon 2024. My pace had dropped to 6 minutes per kilometer, but my heart rate had shot up to 180 beats per minute. I was working harder to go slower. Your highly efficient, slow twitch muscle fibers are completely done. To keep you moving, your brain recruits your fast twitch muscle fibers. But fast twitch muscle fibers burn a massive amount of oxygen and generate a ton of heat. But there's another reason why your heart feels like it's exploding: cardiac drift. By kilometer 35, you have sweat out a massive amount of fluid. Your blood literally becomes thicker. Simultaneously, your core body temperature is rising. So your body diverts your blood away from your working muscles and pushes it to your skin to try and cool you down. Your heart has to pump significantly faster just to supply the same amount of oxygen. Your pace stays the same, but the effort feels 20% harder. The tactical fix: 1. The pulse point flush. Stop drinking water just to swallow it. At the kilometer 35 aid station, grab 2 cups. Drink half of one and dump the rest directly over your head, the back of your neck and your wrists. Cooling the skin tricks the body into pulling blood away from the skin and sending it back to your fast twitch fibers, instantly dropping your heart rate. The tactical fix 2, the form audit. When fast twitch fibers take over, your running form collapses into a shuffle. You cannot try to push harder. You have to run taller. Drive the elbow straight back to force your legs to turn over. Lift the hips. Imagine a string pulling you up from the crown of your head. Fixing your form reduces the mechanical workload on those dying fast twitch fibers. Now we enter kilometer 38, the final 4 kilometers. The caffeine is wearing off and the legs are screaming. You've been hyper-focused on your pace, nutrition and form for nearly 4 hours. Your frontal lobe is suffering from vigilant fatigue. The tactical fix: 1. External disassociation. Your body is a liar right now. It is sending maximum pain signals to get you to stop. Shrink the world around you. Pick the runner in the bright yellow shirt 20 meters ahead of you. Match their foot strike and do not look at your watch. Let them drag you through the darkness. The tactical fix: 2. The neurological override. When you're in the blackout zone, your face contorts. You grimace and you clench your jaw. This muscular tension sends a neurological feedback loop to your brain, confirming we are in extreme distress. So you do what Eliud Kipchoge does. You force yourself to physically smile for 30 seconds. Drop your shoulders and relax your jaw. Forcing a relaxed, smiling face interrupts the distress signals to your brain, physically lowering your rate of perceived exertion. You are using your facial muscles to lie to your central nervous system. Then you hit kilometer 41. You have 1,200 meters left. The fast twitch fibers are screaming, but suddenly the negotiation room vanishes. You hear the crowd, you see the 41k marker, but this is where runners make their final fatal mistake. Your brain realizes you're going to survive and it releases a massive, unregulated dump of adrenaline. I have seen runners suffer through 40 kilometers of hell only to suddenly break into a dead sprint at kilometer 41 because they got excited by the crowds. Within 400 meters, their calves seize up. They end up walking the final stretch, watching their Sub-4 slip away. The tactical fix: the 1 mile muzzle. When you hear the finish line, do not change your stride. Do not surge. Keep that muzzle on the dog. You let the adrenaline numb the pain, but you hold that steady, disciplined turnover until you can physically read the numbers on the finish line clock. Then you empty the tank. The blackout zone is terrifying because it forces you to fight your own biology. But when you know the science, when you block the adenosine, flush your pulse points, and shut the door to the negotiation room, you strip the marathon of its power over you.